Hello and welcome to Heart-Filled Spaces. Today we're going to learn how to upload the 3D paper pumpkin files into Silhouette Studio, prepare them to cut, and select the proper cut settings. There's a separate video available in the description below for assembling the paper pumpkins. If you are a Cricut Design Space user, I've also provided a video for you in the description below. This project involves using intricate cuts and uses detailed designs. For best results, I recommend using 65-pound cardstock and 100 GSM vellum. For assembling the pumpkins, we are using a glue stick and precision craft glue. I've provided a supply list for you down below this video. Now let's get started with our project. Here we are in Silhouette Studio. I am working in the business edition, so yours may look slightly different than mine. We're going to begin by opening one of the paper pumpkin files. So we are going to scroll up to the top menu bar and we're going to choose File and then choose Open. Your paper pumpkin will be wherever you saved it to on your computer. I'm going to choose the Plaid Pumpkin SVG file. So I'm going to click on the file and then I'm going to choose OK, and it's going to open up our entire file. When I save the files, all of the different pieces are saved into one file. If you hit Command minus or Control minus on your keyboard, it will pan out so that you can see your cutting mat and also the canvas area around the cutting mat. When the file first comes in, it's going to come in on 8.5 by 11 paper. This is the smallest pumpkin size in the photos, and I've actually designed them to start out cutting on 8.5 by 11 paper. Now if you want to resize the pumpkins, they come in on a canvas size of 8 by 10.5, which is meant to cut out on 8.5 by 11 cardstock. But if you want to resize these, let's say we want to go up to like a medium-sized pumpkin. We're going to go over here to the top right panel. It looks like a solid sheet of paper with a folded corner. You click on that, it's going to open your page settings. The width that you can see here is set to 8 and the height is set to 10.5. If we switch this to 12 by 12 cardstock and we hit enter, you can see that our white canvas size has switched to the full 12 by 12 size. So now if you select Command A or Control A, it will select the entire file together. And this is very important when you're resizing these. You want to make sure everything, the panels, the vellum, and the pumpkin parts are all selected together when you resize. It keeps everything uniform and working well together. So once you have selected all of the pieces in the file, we want to make sure that the aspect ratio is locked so that as we drag on these squares on the perimeter of all of the pieces, that it resizes it evenly between the height and the width of the file. So we're going to go over here to the corner of this box and we are going to drag that corner out, and you can see the file begins to get larger. And then we're going to go ahead and make it so that the 6 panels fit on the 12 by 12 canvas. And then we're going to click on the files and we're going to drag it so that just the panels are here on the left hand side of the canvas. And you can see that it all fits on that white canvas. And at this point, this will make a medium-sized pumpkin, and you can drag everything else off of the canvas. So what we want to do is deselect everything and just grab these items that are not going to be part of the canvas. And then we're going to drag them off of the canvas. Okay, now everything is sized the same. And we would go ahead and send this. For Silhouette Studio, you can just send the same page twice. Now, if you wanted, again, we're still working with just resizing the pumpkins. I'm just showing you how to resize them. We will go back and fix the score lines in a minute. So this is how you would make a medium-sized pumpkin, but I'm going to undo all of that so I can show you how to make a large pumpkin. If you want to make the largest pumpkin possible, we would do Command A or Control A to select everything on our canvas. And what I would do is I would drag the corner of the canvas until the full length of one of these panels is across the 12 by 12 canvas. So I'll show you that here. I'm going to drag and I'm going to make them quite large. So we'll start about there, and I'm going to be working with these left panels. So I'm going to drag them over. And you can we still have some room to go if we're working on the width of the canvas. So I'm going to continue to drag until we get a perfect fit all the way across. And you can see we're going to get much less of these on the canvas now that we've made them so large, but this will give you the large size pumpkin if you do it this way. Okay, so you can see that one of these panels is now the full width of the file. But when we changed that, we had everything in the file selected. So now you can tell you're only going to be able to cut 4 of these panels at a time. How I would do it is I would do Control A or Command A to select everything, and then I would just deselect the ones that are on the canvas while holding my Shift key down. And you can tell that these score lines are also both selected. We want to deselect those. And that's it. Everything that I need that's on the canvas is deselected. Now I would just drag them off of the canvas. This will create the largest size pumpkin. And then what I would do is you need 12 of these panels to create one pumpkin. So I would cut this 3 times. The vellum panels can be cut on 8.5 by 11, but I think you would have to do 3 of them, and you would have to rotate them. So this is basically how you resize the files to get different size pumpkins. So now we're going to move over into how to prepare the files to cut. I'm going to show you how to set up custom cut settings for both score lines and 65-pound cardstock. But before we do that, through my experience, the best way to cut these panels is to cut by line color. And when the panels come in, they don't have a line color, they only have a fill color. But the black lines are score lines. So we want to go ahead and cut by line color, and that way it will cover the score lines as well. And so I'm going to show you a fast way to do that. We just brought the file in, and this is what it looks like. What we want to do is go up to your top menu bar and select panels, and that's going to open up this drop down menu, and we are going to choose select by color. Now once we do that, it opens this select by color menu, and what we can do here is select all the different colors in our project. It will choose everything with that color, and then we can also choose the matching line color. So let me show you how to do that. I'm going to go ahead and start with the orange color because that is the first color on our canvas. But before we select it, you want to look under options here at the bottom of the box, and you may have only shapes on media checked off. We want to deselect that box so that we will choose all of the shapes with the color that are in the file. If you have only shapes on media selected, it will only choose the shapes that are on your actual canvas, and we don't want that. So make sure only shapes on media is not checked. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to come up here to the top where the orange color is, and we're going to select that color. And you can see that everything on the canvas that is the color orange was just selected. Now what we want to do is go up to the upper left menu bar where our color palette is, and you can see that the fill color is orange, but the line color is defaulted to red. We want to select the drop down menu by that line color, and we want to go ahead and change it to orange to match the file. So now our line color for all of the orange items is also orange. The next one we're going to do is we will go ahead and select the green in the select by color box. That's going to choose only the items in our file that have a green fill color. Now we're going to do the same process. If you come up to the upper left corner where our color palette resides, you can see that the fill color is set to green, but our line color again is defaulted to red. You're going to choose the drop down menu. Now you can see that the green color didn't show. So what we want to do is we want to grab our eyedropper tool, and we want to go ahead and pan over to the green until you see the box show up with the green color in it, and then go ahead and select it. And now you can see in our color palette in the upper left corner that our line color has also changed to green for all of the green items. Now let's go ahead and do the vellum panels. When we choose that light tan color, all of the vellum panels are selected. Pan up to the upper left corner, and you can see that the line color is set to black. We're going to choose that drop down menu. We're going to choose the eyedropper tool, and we're going to go hover over one of the panels and select it. And you can see that the line color changed to match the fill color on the vellum panels. Now the last color is going to be the brown, which is the stem, and we're going to repeat that step again. Up until we see the line color, we choose the drop down menu. We're going to choose the eyedropper tool, and then we're going to hover down over onto the brown color until it shows in that box, and we're going to select it. And now you can see that the brown is matching. The line color, the fill color is brown, and the line color is also brown. So as we click on each of these items, we should see that the fill and the line color are matching on all of the items. So the other item on here are the black score lines. They are located here on the pumpkin panels, and they should come in set to black, which is what we want. And then I'm going to show you now where all of the score lines are. So on the 12 panels with the designs in them, there are 2 score lines. They are connected together. They come in that way to make it easier. These are all score lines, and that's on every one of the 12 panels. And if we go over here to the far right of the file, there are also score lines on these 4 rectangles, and then there is a score line on the stem, and then there are score lines on the leaf. So just to kind of make you familiar with this file. At this point, we can close the Select by Color menu, and we can go ahead and go over to the Send menu. Now, here we are in the Send menu, and at the top of the Send menu, there are 4 ways to cut files. There you can use the Simple method, the Line method, the Fill method, and the Layer method. For this file, we are going to use the Cut by Line method. So you're going to select Line, and now you can see that it is telling you, oh, these are the colors in your file. There's brown, green, orange, tan, and black. And this is exactly what we want, because we want to be able to choose the file according to what it is we're cutting. So we know that the brown is the stem, the green is the leaf, the orange are the panels with the designs in them, the light tan is the vellum, and the black is the score lines. So what we can do here is we can set up custom cut settings to go ahead and cut these panels. I'm going to show you how to do that. I'm going to start with the orange panels because they are on the canvas, and so I'm going to select the orange panels. And then I'm going to choose the drop-down menu next to the color orange. And this is here where we're going to pick our material that we're going to cut from. Now, I like to set up custom cut settings for the materials that I use on a regular basis. And in order to do that, you can click on this Add New Material Type, which is the blue bar at the bottom of that menu. I already have done that. I have set up custom cut settings so that I can use them over and over again. So if I scroll all the way down to the bottom of my materials panel, there's an area called User Defined. And you can see here that I have 65-pound cardstock score setting, 65-pound cardstock cut setting. I have a vellum setting, that's my vellum setting, and I have a setting for intricate cuts that I use. So for this project, I'm going to use the 65-pound cardstock cut setting, and I'm going to select that one so I can show you what I have this set up as. My cut settings for 65-pound cardstock are a blade depth of 6, a force of 25, a speed of 5, and 1 pass. I have my line segment overcut turned on, and when I select the More box, it shows me what I have my line segment overcut set to. And for this setting, I have it set to 0.50 as the start and 0.50 for the end. So now I would click Save to save my settings. And if you want to use this setting over and over, you can name your setting. What you can do is just double click on it and it brings up a blue box and you can name it. So for now, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the 65-pound cardstock cut setting. Again, you will have to set this up, and then I'm going to click Save. And then I'm going to click the X box up here. And you can see now that under Material for the orange panels, it came up is 65-pound cardstock cut setting. The action is set to cut. So before we move on to the next step, I'm going to go ahead and also set up the score line cut setting for this part of the file, because on this file, the black lines that are on each end of these panels are score lines. So I'm going to go ahead and deselect the orange panels, and then I'm going to select the black lines. Now you can see that the black lines appeared more pronounced once I selected the box next to the black square. Now what we want to do is click on the drop down menu by materials, and I have a preset material already set up in here called 65-pound cardstock score setting, and you can go ahead and set that up like I showed you under custom cut settings. For my score settings, which is just a kiss cut, a very light kiss cut on the cardstock so that you can fold it, the settings that I use for that are a blade depth of 1, a force of 6, 1 pass, and the speed is 5, and the line segment overcut is turned off. Now when I send the projects to my machine that have score lines, I always cut the score lines first. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So I have only the black lines selected, everything else is deselected, and I have for my Cameo 4, I have my auto blade in there. If you have an older machine, you're probably going to be using a ratchet blade. For the older machines, you need to manually adjust your blade setting. The newer machines, the Cameo 4, the auto blade will automatically adjust the blade depth, but on the older machines, you need to adjust that manually with your ratchet blade. So mine is all set. I'm using an auto blade, and I showed you my cut settings already. It says that the cardstock is ready to load, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And now it says that the machine is ready. And again, it's really important if you're using these cut settings that I've given you that you are using 65-pound cardstock with a new blade, and you want to be using a clean light grip mat. Those are very important steps in order for this to cut properly for you. And at this point, I'll just hit send, and it's going to go ahead and do a kiss cut, and then we'll meet back here and I will show you how to do the cut. So we're all set now with our kiss cut that has been cut on the cardstock, and it is finished. So I'm going to deselect the black lines now, and now I'm going to go up here and we're going to actually cut the panels and the pattern from these. So I'm going to select the orange color, which is our line color, and then we've already selected the 65-pound cardstock cut setting, and you can see down here that my settings have changed. So now the blade depth is set at a 6. It's set to auto cut, and I have loaded my cardstock in my machine and it is ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and click send. Okay, now that I'm done cutting out these panels, I'll have to do it a second time because there are 6 of them and we need a total of 12 to make the pumpkin. So I would just repeat these steps until I have 12 finished panels. Then I would go back out to my design menu and I would highlight everything that I am done cutting, and I would move that off of my canvas, and then I would choose which items I was going to cut next. Since I'm already using the orange cardstock, I would probably choose the orange items and then I would drag them onto my canvas. Once they were there, I would go back to my send menu. I like to cut my score lines first, so I would choose the black, and you can see the score lines became very prominent, and then I would click send. And now that that is finished cutting, I would deselect the score lines and select the pumpkin parts, and I would click send. Now that this part of my project is done, I would go back to the design menu. I would highlight those orange items and remove them from the canvas. Next, I would probably do the green items since I'm working with cardstock, and I would drag those onto the canvas. And again, you can adjust these however you choose. If you want to save cardstock, I might even just kind of hold my shift key down and turn these in this direction, pop them right up there at the top, and then I would choose the leaf. Make sure you grab the score lines with it, and then I would click send again. So now we're working with the green lines and again the score lines. So the score lines, if you select them, will already be set because we've already been working with them. So see, they showed up nicely, but we have not changed the cardstock cut settings for green. So we can go over and select the green, select the drop down menu, and this is where it just gets great having those custom cut settings. We just scroll scroll all the way to the bottom and choose 65-pound cardstock cut settings. And then I always just glance down here and make sure that the cut settings look appropriate. The blade depth is set to 6. I like to cut my score lines first, so I would click only the black and then I would click send. Once that is done scoring, I would then deselect the score lines, the black, and I would select the green, and then I would double check that my cut settings are correct, and I will click send. Once that's complete, we're going to go back out to our design menu. We're going to highlight all of the green items and take them off of the canvas, and then we're going to go ahead and grab our stem, and we are going to drag this over onto the canvas, and then we're going to go back to send. Now the brown, we're going to select the brown layer, deselect the green now, and next to the brown layer, we're going to click on the drop down menu, again scroll all the way to the bottom, choose your 65-pound cardstock cut setting, and there it showed up properly. And then again, there's a score line on this, so I would cut the score line first. That's right up here on the stem, and then I would hit send, and then when I was done with that, I would go ahead and choose the cardstock and I would hit send. Make sure you're loading the right cardstock on your mat and into your machine each time. Then I would go back out to the design menu and I would remove this item from my mat. I would select the vellum and drag it onto my canvas. Then I would go back to the send menu. Now here is a slight change. These panels are light yellow on the line color and these are vellum. At this point, you can either choose the vellum setting right here in your materials menu, or I have set up my own custom vellum setting. So I would choose that. And so my vellum setting is a blade depth of 3, a force of 19, 1 pass, and a speed of 6. And then once that's set, I would load my vellum on my light grip cutting mat. I would load my mat into my machine and I would click send. And that's it, guys. We are all done. We have cut out the complete pumpkin parts and gone through every step of this tutorial. I hope you enjoy making these pumpkins. Bye for now.